It's crazy. What's crazy, and what I love the most is when I have a student that finally breaks free of everything and realizes at the end of the day that all of his circumstances and everything that's going on in his life has been influenced by certain things that he has seen himself or what he has gone through. Most people don't understand in the game is that a lot of these young men don't understand that what they are right now are actually the choices and the decisions that they make. And because of these choices and because of these decisions that they make, even though they do these things for a feeling of independence, they don't realize that they really are the ones that control their perspectives. They control their emotions. They control their thoughts. They control everything that they are. But unfortunately, to a lot of these young men, they think that that what their perception is and their reality is just some kind of illusion. Freedom is an illusion to someone who's not a student of the game. So many of these young men, that's why they run to the pills and plates and saucers and whatever comes up on YouTube, because they are held in. I always talk about a fish and how the fish thinks it's free, but it has limitations. And its freedom only goes as far as the tank it's in. And a lot of people don't understand that, how it confines, because your mindset when you don't have game is always going to be limited to your boundaries, such as the fish tank. And that's part of the problem that a lot of guys are having today, because what's happening is that they're not free and independent thinkers. The tank is a prison in their mind. It's like, as I said before, it's like the three pigs, like the last pig that instead of building on sticks and hay, they decided to prison themselves. And that's where most of the problems come in at, because most of the guys out there see the world as a prison, or their mind as a prison, that they're not good enough, they can't be good enough, and they confine themselves in that so-called fish tank, like I said before, where they don't realize the freedom that they actually have when they actually unlock their freedom, when they start to see that they are allowed to have a perspective. They're allowed to think, but never be influenced by what is outside of them. Like we always say, the I do. We always try to force these men into the I am, to understand that the choices, options, decisions, everything that they can influence when they're actually founded or rooted in their core. One cannot be rooted in his core when one doesn't believe he even can get to a core. But the amazing thing is that instead of having the mindset of the fish in the fish tank, is cooler when you can be the one holding the tank. See, that's how deep game is. See, the fish is limited. It has limitations by the fish tank. Yes. But once you become a student of the game, you realize that you are the one holding the tank. Like I've always said, even with the theater one in your mind of poor me, I'm not good enough, not tall enough, and all that other stuff. It's the same scenario. Once you realize that you have the power to choose the time, buy the tickets, and choose where you sit, that then gives you a small shift in your perspective. It doesn't change everything, but it gives you a small shift. But one thing that will always hold you back is the influence of the YouTubers that are just trying to keep you down and hold you down. by influencing you to believe that their life is actually your life, or what a woman does to somebody else is actually going to happen to you. If you look at all the things that influence guys and stuff like that, I'm sorry, it's mine. If you look at things that influence guys and things like that right now, you will see that a lot of young men who really don't, who can't influence themselves, will be quick to be influenced by somebody else. Now, please understand this: when I was in elementary and junior high school, I was huge. I mean, as a Cowboy fan, I was hugely influenced by other things. Like when we played throw up tackle or smear the, I can't say the word, but you know, we played throw up tackle. We would choose an offensive player and a defensive player, you know, and I would be like Tony Dorsett or a Ed Too Tall Jones or something like that. You know what I mean? Eugene Lockhart or something. But that was the influence of the outside world. But that wasn't an influence of me going away from who I am at my core. Being able to shape your thoughts, being able to shape what you are, being able to look at yourself, to learn that in order to influence yourself as a man, one will have to really truly have a personal influence. And once you have a personal influence of yourself, you're no longer looking at your childhood. Yes, you are not your childhood. You are not your parents that maybe abused you, beat you, or didn't love you the way you want to love you. That was just something that happened in your life, but that's not who you are right now, unless you want to be in that fish tank and say to yourself that, you know what, I want to be, I don't want to be free, because even prisoners have freedom, but the freedom is as far as the prison walls allow that person to be free. Sure, they are confined by their jail cells, but they do get to go out of their cells to have some freedom, but they're still confined by the prison itself. So for a lot of you guys, unfortunately, your childhood will have a huge shape in how you live your life and how you experience things and how you see things. But once you become a student of the game, all the things that you think that are actually happening to you and all the things that are going on are just going to be a moment in time, but it's not going to be actually what you are right now. Give you an example. I mean, you're not the cereal that you ate when you were a child, right? But you can go back to that moment. If you see a Rice Krispies or a Fruity Pebbles commercial, you can see a cereal commercial and go back to that time. But it's odd when you go back to that time, you just live in that moment and move on from that time. You are not defined by the cereal, which means is once you become a student of the game, you won't be defined by your past. You cannot be defined by something you have no control over. Every second that goes by is your past, and how you influence yourself in the present, in the future, can really change the way you see the past. But again, the question that I ask you, and the question that you might need to ask yourself at the end of the day, do you want to be the fish in the tank, or do you want to be the person holding the fish tank? That's the question.